Thank you, Freak. And the first thing I want to touch on immediately, I want to look at team compositions because we heard Jat at the beginning of the game talk about how in best of fives, a lot of times, and Zion yesterday on the desk too, stick with what's been working until they beat it.
Yeah.
Well, they do stick with the Nunu here, but they change everything else. And I don't like that. If you are going to change the composition, then you do need to change it so that it is still cohesive in your new direction. I would have much preferred something like Vi, something that's more aggressive so that when you do have the Kennen come all in, the Nautilus ult come all in, somebody's dying.
Yeah, you won. Don't show more of your cards. They first picked the Urgot and they banned their own Sivir on TIP's side. It's like, why don't you just pick the Sivir and do another run at UComp with Shyvana top Smite TP again? Like, that seemed to be a good strat that TSM didn't know how to deal with 100%. Do it again. Like, that was what was really surprising to me. And also the Cassiopeia ban from TIP, like, I would have much rather see that be just subbed out for anything else. Like even the Gragas, just so that Santorin is forced not onto one of those meta tanks. Ban Gragas and Sejuani, and then if you pick Nunu, you're going to out-tank him in the jungle.
Cassiopeia, somewhat of a confusing ban. If you're looking at it solely through the lens of TSM, Bjergsen has played it one time. He did play it pretty well in the regular season, but they did not win off of it. So I am, too, a little bit perplexed by the Cassiopeia ban. Can you explain? Can you give us a little reason behind that, Doublelift?
The only guess I have is from my personal experience playing against TIP, Xiao Xiao's main champion in scrims is TF, and Twisted Fate does pretty poorly in lane against Cassio. That's the only reason that I could possibly give, because, yeah, Bjergsen's only playing it once during the regular season. Seems really concerning that they're essentially throwing one of their bans for a champion they might not be so comfortable on.
Yeah, and it looked like they also, just going back to the team comp thing too, Nunu is not going to blood boil anybody on that comp and find success. You blood boil on Urgot, great. He moves a little faster, right? So one of those picks needs to be subbed out. Rush on something more aggressive, Rek'Sai, or like even Vi, something that he can like synergize with the Nautilus, or you swap out the AD carry and you go with something that can carry the game. You go with a Kog'Maw, you go with a Jinx. Anything would have been a good thing there.
Yeah, and I think critically this game, as I said before, or after game one, I should say, TSM picked a mid lane with a lot of playmaking ability and pressure with Ahri, and you saw TIP forcing a lot of shutdown on that, like trying to take away blue buff, trying to shut down Bjergsen. Really didn't work because Bjergsen just has so much control over mid lane. And then Wildshard on a hypercarry, he didn't actually even play early game very well. He fell far, almost like 30 CS behind, lost his tower. He was playing really poorly in the early game, but because of the nature of the strong champions right now, you can actually play really poorly for the first 15 or 20 minutes and just come back later and right-click people with 700 range. It's really hard to deal with when TIP also changed their strategy without having a challenging smite from a top laner. I mean, they just have no way to deal with a long-range hypercarry.
Yeah, TSM doing a much better job adjusting this time around. And they also punished Rush for his aggression this time. You know, although there was that 2-kill-to-1 trade in the top lane after that, a much better job protecting Santorin's jungle and putting him in a position to have pressure around the map.
Hey, when Santorin told me about he memorizes and visualizes Rush's jungle route, he caught him at the Gromp, was able to get a kill on him there, and that was really big for TSM at the start. And then they kept picking on him, a little over-aggressive there, like you said, but they were keeping Rush down, and then Rush seemed to go into it was kind of tilty mode. Like he was tunnel vision. He was flashing walls. Like
the blood boil
himself, run past everybody to just flash a wall after Bjergsen, who just gets saved. It's like complete tunnel. That's the most aggressive play I've seen from a Nunu.
Yeah. If he were Vi, maybe it would have worked. Maybe he would have killed her.
Maybe it would have.
I think the main thing about players like that is they're not used to being behind. Rush is almost always playing with an advantage. So when he falls behind, there's two different situations I find pro players fall into. It's either they shut down completely or they continue to play as if they're ahead because it's all they know how to do. So Rush, I feel, is one of those players that just continues to play as if he's ahead, regardless of whether or not he's ahead.
Yeah, and it bit them a little bit because TSM was comfortable waiting for the right pick to start a fight. And I do want to bring up our replay 38 minutes in. This is that mid lane team fight. Charm lands on Apollo, and that's TSM's sign for we've taken over this game.
Yeah, as soon as they get Apollo, he's the only physical damage threat here, and Santorin's been stacking magic resistance. He has his Locket, he has his Merc Treads. So then his job, Santorin, is to get into everybody, soak as much damage as possible, and get Xiao Xiao out of the fight, try to keep impact as well. So you're going to see him barrel Xiao Xiao off to the side after the chompers. He gets no damage on anybody here, and he starts focusing him out. Bjergsen Doesn't take any damage from the lay waste, from the defile. Santorin's the only one. He's standing and he's taking no damage there, and he's completely fine.
And then he chases him out
afterwards.
Ulted Gragas.
Yeah.
It's just
He's
insanity.
just a wall.
He's still over half health here. Just incredible zoning potential for him. I do like that pick up for him, definitely giving that front line, and as we mentioned, allowing then Bjergsen and Turtle to feel comfortable laying down that damage in the mid to late game.
Yeah, I think you might have to ban the Gragas here instead of the Cassiopeia as TIP, or let the Sivir through first pick it and ban the Gragas, because I feel like if Rush doesn't play it, you need to get as many tanks off the field as possible, so you level it out, and you're just like, all right, Santorin has to play my aggression game, and I'll beat him at it.
This is an interesting point here, Double F, that I want to ping you for, because the teams are staying on these side choices for this third game, right? It altered between games 1 and 2, but it's staying the same for game 3. So Team Impulse doesn't have the benefit of being able to counterpick that mid lane, which is what we've kind of arrived at might be the hinge of this series. What can they do then? You know, if they're going to drop the cast ban to let Zhao Weizhao be in a position to deal with an Ahri, an aggressive Ahri, and a roaming Ahri.
Yeah, I actually thought Zhao Weizhao did actually a decent job this game. He played a global, and that's almost all on the sidelines to make him useful, as well as Twisted Fate, one of his other main champions. It's just really on your sidelines to set up the play for you. And I never really thought of Zhao Weizhao as a real carry of TIP. Yes, he gets really farmed. Yes, he cleans up late game teamfights because he's really farmed, but he's almost never the one making the play himself and initiating. So Zhao Weizhao to me is not a player on TIP that I would like to see get the counter pick. Instead, I'd like to see Impact I guess have a little more impact in this next game instead of just idling in the sidelines on Kennen and not really doing much, as well as Apollo. Urgot with Blood Boil is a really mismatch in synergy, and I didn't see him do anything that game either.
Yeah, and the Karthus pick with the global, he almost had a lot of kills early on when they dove the top turret, but if that Nunu had been a Vi or had been something with more damage early, he would have just snowballed that Karthus very early on. I thought that could have been the game-changing moment very early for TIP.
All right, well, the series is tied 1-1. We definitely have an exciting one on our hands. We're going to take a break while the teams regroup for Game 3 between Team Solo Mid and Team Impulse. Don't touch that browser. The spring playoffs will be back shortly.
Yeah.
Wait, which one? This one?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Last boy.
Last boy.
Last boy. Last boy, look.
Last boy.
Toss the lantern for Santorin. They're going to go in. They play back Adrian. Get excited because there's a kill for Wild Turtle.
I have ulted 5. I'm just going to go in these two.
Apollo.
Keep going down. I'm going to alter.
Holy shit. I'm going top, I'm going top. Bjergsen fairly low, but Impact gets shut out by the hook, and Adrian will follow as well. It's a 4-kill fight. Lustboy nearly falls down. The Polymorph doing a lot of work, but Apollo gets Santorin. A rocket comes out the back, and Wild Turtle's going to kill as many as he can. And that's the game. 41 minutes. Team Solo Mid fires back.